to it a little bit more, aren't you, sir?
I try to.
How are you this morning?
No, I'm fine.
Good. What's the state of sports advertising within Ghana at the moment? Is there a state?
I'm not too sure about the medical terms, but I guess it's in the state of stillbirth or comatose.
Comatose, yeah.
Yeah, you are not too clear whether you are going or coming. I guess I'll try to shy away from terminologies.
Okay.
I guess we don't really understand it well. We don't appreciate it. I guess we are very emotional when the thing is business. And with business, there's no emotion.
Emotions, right.
Yeah, and that is where we are getting it wrong.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Danquah, let me ask you. I mean, but last week or about 2 weeks ago, we had a gentleman from the Division 1. And the fact that, it's advertising is just really not happening. And even on their website, we went on there, it had Polytime, who are not sponsoring them anymore, but they're still on their website. Just generally, why do you think multinationals are shying away from, advertising, not only in sort of first division, but definitely if you say the less funded sports, not the lesser known, because they're very big in other parts of the world, but like we're talking about here, boxing is less funded, what else, hockey, all the other ones. Well, why are they shying away?
How do you make choices every day in what you want to wear, what you want to put on, your hair and all that? There has to be some attraction. And definitely whatever we are doing is not attractive to anybody. Because now I make this joke about sponsorship and things. And sponsorship is not a funeral donation. Yeah. Funeral donation is the one that you give. You don't even ask for receipt sometimes. Yeah. Or then you don't worry what they use it for. Sponsorship is value for money. Yeah. Same with advertising. Because then you're asking the person to relocate normal advertising budget to sports. Yeah. And then he should have more value in terms of returns on the kind of investment he's going to make in sports than the other platforms. Right. Then he would come and invest and fund sports.
So besides the Black Stars, I mean, because that's the one that everybody seems to get behind when we're talking.
If you take even the Black Stars, you should in a way relate it to local league.
Yes.
But then local league is bad.
Yeah.
You understand? So it tells you, and then when people don't go to the stadium.
Okay.
That's part of the problem.
Right.
But with people who spend their money, it's about what the Americans would call eyeballs.
Yeah.
The normal people who watch it. The normal people who be even in the stadium to watch the match. So that if you cannot do live telecast of all the matches and for all the sports, then it doesn't attract anybody.
So basically what you're saying is that we don't have the fundamentals correct?
No, definitely not. We tried it with the 208s. And I guess it was to let people know that it's possible.
Right.
Because we were able to raise about $10 million from licensing and merchandise. Yeah. You understand? And that's a lot of money.
It is.
We were able to send people into the stadia to watch matches. And what we receive from attendances is still the highest in all the Cup of Nations, even to date. It means that you really need to understand people. And then if you sell any consumable and nobody is buying, then you should sit down and think. Yeah. But the easiest way is the Black Stars, because the Black Stars, they make the names in the Premier English League, any other country, and then when you put them together, there's a certain value balancing.
Okay, we've mentioned the Black Stars, we've mentioned football, but for instance, we had athletes who went to the Olympics. Isn't the Olympics like a big enough accolade or a big enough platform for us to see that these are the kind of things that we should be looking forward to?
And what did you get out of the Olympics?
Well, we didn't get much.
so that is part of the problem.
But it's exposure though, isn't it? I mean,
it's not so much the exposure. If the exposure of showing off your kente in a match past, there's nothing wrong with it. It's part of the selling of brand Ghana.
Right.
But it's more than that, because when people do endorsements, it's about you,
the athlete,
and everything you stand for. Right. That is why sometimes when people engage themselves in scandals and things,
they lose their endorsements.
They lose it, because it's a two-way thing. Whatever you are becomes the product, and whatever the product is becomes you.
Right.
So anytime there's a problem, so if you don't, and most of them are foreign based Ghanaian athletes, and then he has to relate it to Ghana. Okay, because from outside Ghana, you don't have that value.
All right, Mr. Danquah, let me ask you. You mentioned about the fact that if companies want to sponsor or endorse local leagues or the lesser funded sports, it has to be attractive. What are the sports doing for it to be attractive? So what can they do? Because right now, obviously, if they're getting it wrong, what can make it appeal? What can it make appeal to the multinational companies?
One of the fundamentals is if you call it yourself a national association, the connotation is that at least you've done more than 50% of the whole population of Ghana. Yeah. But when people sit in Accra and turn clubs into national associations, you understand? Because if you really organize the sports well and across from community level to district to region to national, that's about the best penetration platform you can give any product.
Right.
So when you link it, it's a straightforward national platform.
Right.
You understand? But if you are not doing it well, and the demand comes and sees, and the other side is the value for money is that if I tell you I'll give you tickets for the event I'm organizing, and the man has to chase you for the tickets, and sometimes he will not get it.
Yeah.
You understand? And then you also give it to him the morning of the event, when really he needed the tickets for possibly his management staff, customers, and then people you want to promote. I mean, so we are getting it wrong. You understand? Because if you say you want to deliver these services in lieu of 10 million that you want a person to pay, then for the person you should get about 20
million worth of
services.
Returns.
Then the next time you ask for 40, he will give you, because he knows by ratio at least you can deliver by 80.
So is the problem that we're not being proactive? We're not putting ourselves in a position whereby we can give sponsorship the value for their money, or are we not putting ourselves in it where we can actually be brands as ourselves? Because it comes hand in hand. You have the likes of...
I prefer the brands than proactive, because if you don't understand, no matter how proactive you are, you will not still get it right. You understand?
Right.
People need to appreciate that we need to repackage our sports. We need to repackage various disciplines. You understand? We need to package things. And let's go to hockey. I'll just skip. Let's go to hockey. And the motion I'm talking about is you don't have money to promote hockey. Now you have a whole new stadium that you can Robertson. You could go back to those days that we have the finesse and all. You understand? And then you could always have the good boxes on the coast because of the way we are. You understand? And over time, we've actually neglected that. The processes that we use to promote boxes are no more there. You understand? And then to look for fights, it's not also there. Why would Zaire spend Congo DR now spend so much to bring Muhammad Ali and then Foreman to Congo DR for that one fight?
Which is still a legend. I mean, everybody still talks about it to this day.
And which is still giving Congo DR the mileage.
Yeah, Rumble in the Jungle.
Yep.
You understand? So if you think that you want to use sports for all kinds of things, even to brand Ghana,
right,
then policymakers will look at it differently. If you want to use sports for employment, and then this is no serious figures, but from the district, I would look at about 5 million people who are employed in sports. Right. From the district, from ball boys, from people who sell wache around stadia, and people who do all kinds of things, not formally.
Okay.
Then we should begin to rethink this whole thing. You understand? It's not just about the people, administrators and all, but it's all of us as a nation.
So we need to rebrand ourselves as a nation in regards to sports as it is.
And then change the way we think about sports. Because it's money.
It is. It is a lot of money. We spend a lot of money watching it. We spend a lot of money breathing it. So,
Mr. Danquah, what would you say then is the way forward? Let's envisage 10 years from now. What would you like to see happening in sports marketing?
If you're doing it the same way, it will even be worse 10 years from now.
Wow.
But we are ready to let other people come in. And sometimes I give some analogies. You take some of the major clubs, and sometimes they reshuffle boards and it's big men. and they go and they still can't get it right. You know, there's something fundamentally wrong with the way we look at it. It's not about the people. It's the people who can understand it and then act it. You understand? Because we could sell T-shirts for $208. The guy who got the license paid $500,000 cash for the rights. And at the end of it all, he made over $2 million.
Wow. But that was even, I remember there was even a lot of fakes in the market. The
And
people
we were
was
arresting them.
I remember,
And
yeah.
still he made that money.
Still make
Wow.
money. Yeah.
It means that if Hearts or Asante Kotoko, or even the smaller ones, the village clubs, you understand, you could start from 500 or 200 supporters, and then you could grow the brand that before you are aware became Chelsea or Chelsea FC, or I mean, before you are aware, it's a national thing.
Yeah.
It's the way you work it. So if you are not going to work it, and we are still going to stand in the way that we foreclose other people from it,
Yeah.
and we think that those of us just in it could solve the problem, we are getting it wrong.
Okay.
People need to come study it and then work on it, and then we can really get it right.
Right.
I mean, there's one program on athletics, and it was being sponsored earlier. You understand? Suddenly it's down, so nobody even goes to it or participate in athletics. But all of them have the potential. It's the way you want to do it. And then if you accept that, it could create the same money and the same opportunities as you could invest in oil and gas, and as you could invest in construction, as you could invest in manufacturing. And then you know the figures outside. And then you say that you are not even looking for 10% of the figures outside, all the figures that you were quoting.
Yeah.
10% is still a lot of money.
Yep.
You understand? So it's about us as a nation and deciding that we've tried all kinds of sectors of the economy. We want to use it to change things. And we could use sports to even change the way we do our politics. You understand? It's all kinds of things that we can do with sports. Then, rule of law, you can get it better in sports. Because when it's a goal, it's a goal.
As for that.
Even if you have any objection,
Yeah,
it still
it's
stands.
still a goal. Yeah. So we need to be paying a lot more attention towards the sporting industry in order to be able to have light at the end of the tunnel in regards to advertising of our sports industry. Is that
No,
right?
but even more than that. Because if you do HR and you go into oil and gas, and you cannot easily cross over to manufacturing, don't you think there's a different kind of HR for sports?
Right.
Or a different kind of HR? We are talking about sports marketing. Why
Yes.
didn't you just say marketing?
Yeah.
You understand? So there's a different kind of marketing for sports. Different kind of PR. Different kind of psychology. Different kinds of even events.
So people need to learn that.
People need to learn that. And events is the biggest industry globally. From just hiring chairs to weddings to whatever, to the major events.
Yeah.
And you look at the people involved. You understand? And every week there's a football match. Look at the people involved. So we need to sit down and realize that, yes, at least if you don't want to do it better, let's add a little bit of attention there.
Right.
But
Let's
not the
make
one that we write manifestos and we put, we'll do this for sports, do this for sports, and then at the end of the day, that is not what we've done, because we don't even understand it.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you ever so much for joining us this morning, Mr. Rex Danquah, and giving some insight into where we should be in regards to sports marketing.
One day we'll get to the promised land.
We'll get
That's
there.
I'm always hopeful.
We will
I'm
also have
hopeful.
we will also have a Michael Jordan from Ghana.
Yes,
and that
yes,
will help.
please. One day.
We will. But that is when, after we decided to look after our stadium well.
That's true.
Not
as
to
well.
let it, after spending over $2
Infrastructure
million,
and fundamentals.
$2 million, and then 5 years down the line.
Boom.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us once.